through the keyhole. I awoke to an oppressive silence, the kind that presses against your eardrums and fills you with an inexplicable dread. My room, usually bathed in the soft glow of the morning sun, was shrouded in darkness. I reached for the switch, but the light refused to obey. Confused, I stumbled to the door, only to find it wouldn't budge. It was locked from the outside. Panic clawed at my chest as I pounded on the wood, calling out for anyone who might hear. But the house remained silent, as if it were holding its breath. I turned to the window, but it was sealed shut, not even a whisper of wind coming through. I was trapped, isolated in my own sanctuary. As I slumped against the door, defeated, my eye caught a sliver of light from the keyhole. Curiosity overpowered my fear, and I peered through, expecting to see the familiar hallway. Instead, I saw an eye. My own eye, staring back at me with an intensity that was paralyzing. The sight sent a chill down my spine. How could this be? Was it a trick of the light, or something more sinister? I backed away, my mind racing with impossible scenarios. The room felt smaller, the walls inching closer with every panicked breath I took. I had to get out. I searched for anything that could aid my escape, but the room was bare, stripped of anything useful. The only thing left was the mirror on the wall. As I approached it, I noticed something odd. My reflection wasn't mimicking my movements. It was smiling at me. The smile wasn't kind or reassuring. It was twisted, filled with malice. And then it spoke, its voice a distorted echo of my own. "You're not alone," it whispered. "You'll never be alone again." I recoiled in horror, the room spinning around me. The mirror's surface rippled, and a hand reached out, beckoning me to join it on the other side. That's when I heard it, the sound of the door unlocking from the outside. The mirror's invitation hung in the air, its glass surface still rippling like a disturbed pond. My heart raced as I stepped closer, drawn by a force I couldn't comprehend. The hand beckoned, fingers elongated and skeletal, and I hesitated. What awaited me on the other side? The room seemed to pulse with a malevolent energy. Shadows clung to the corners, their edges sharp and hungry. I glanced back at the locked door, the keyhole now empty. The eye had vanished, but its gaze lingered, etched into my mind like a curse. "Come," the mirror whispered, its voice a haunting echo. "Cross the threshold. Discover the truth." My reflection grinned wider, teeth sharp and plenty. I pressed my palm against the glass, and it yielded, like a membrane between worlds. The room beyond was a distorted version of my own, a twisted reflection. The walls dripped with darkness, and the floor seemed to writhe beneath my feet. I stepped through, and the mirror swallowed me whole. The air on the other side was thick, suffocating. I stumbled into a hallway that stretched infinitely in both directions. Doors lined the walls, each identical to the one I'd been trapped behind. But these doors were open, revealing glimpses of other rooms, other lives. The whispering began, a chorus of voices that slithered through the cracks. They spoke of forgotten sins, lost memories, and the price of curiosity. I followed the sound, drawn toward a flickering light at the end of the hall. The voices grew louder, more urgent, urging me forward. The light emanated from a room unlike the others. Its door was ornate, carved with symbols I couldn't decipher. As I pushed it open, the whispers reached a fever pitch. The room was empty except for a mirror, an ancient, tarnished mirror that seemed to hold the weight of centuries. My reflection stared back at me, but it was different now. Its eyes were hollow, devoid of humanity. "You've crossed the threshold," it murmured. "Now you see what lies beyond." I gazed into the mirror, and the room shifted. Shadows danced along the walls, revealing glimpses of other worlds, twisted landscapes, grotesque creatures, and fractured memories. The whispers coalesced into words, a warning etched into my very bones. "You're not alone," they hissed. "We've been waiting." And then the mirror shattered, shards of glass embedding themselves in my skin. The pain was exquisite, and as I fell to the floor, bleeding and broken, I glimpsed something beyond the fractured glass, a realm of nightmares, hungry and vast. The shards of the mirror cut deep, and I lay bleeding on the cold floor. The whispers had intensified, their words a cacophony of despair. I tried to crawl away, but my limbs felt heavy, as if they were sinking into the very fabric of reality. The room around me shifted, its walls pulsating like a living organism. The ceiling dripped with inky tendrils, and the floor seemed to stretch infinitely downward. I was no longer in my house. I was in a place beyond comprehension, a place where nightmares took form. The mirror, now shattered, reflected nothing but darkness. I forced myself to my feet, ignoring the pain. The whispers guided me, urging me toward the abyss that yawned before me. I stumbled forward, each step an eternity, until I stood at the precipice. The darkness below was absolute, a void that threatened to swallow me whole. I peered into it, and my reflection stared back, an abomination of flesh and shadow. Its eye, my eye, held secrets I couldn't fathom. It knew things, ancient truths that would unravel my sanity. "You've glimpsed the other side," it murmured. "The eye that watches, the door that locks. They are one and the same." I tried to speak, but my voice was lost in the void. The whispers grew louder, their urgency pushing me closer to the edge. I had a choice, to step back, to return to my locked room, or to leap into the abyss and discover what lay beyond. The pain in my chest intensified, as if my heart were tearing itself apart. The mirror's curse had seeped into my veins, and I understood, I was the key. My eye, my gaze, held the power to unlock the door between worlds. But at what cost? I closed my eyes, took a breath, and stepped off the edge. The darkness swallowed me whole, and I fell, through layers of reality, through forgotten memories, through the very fabric of existence. The whispers followed, their voices merging into a single scream. And then I landed, not on solid ground, but in a place of shifting shapes and fractured light. The abyss had become a labyrinth, its walls alive with pulsing veins. I stumbled forward, my eyes still fixed on the door, the final door. It stood at the center of the maze, its wood warped and ancient. I reached for the handle, my fingers trembling. The whispers had ceased, replaced by a hollow silence. I turned the knob, and the door swung open. Beyond lay a room, an exact replica of my own. The bed, the dresser, the window, all identical. But there was one difference, the mirror. It hung on the wall, whole and unbroken. And in its glass, I saw myself, whole and unbroken. My reflection smiled, its teeth sharp and hungry. "Welcome home," it said. "You've crossed the threshold." Story 2. The Mirror's Grasp. I always believed our house held secrets, but nothing prepared me for the day the mirror in our bedroom changed everything. My wife, Clara, had always been the rational one, dismissing my uneasy feelings about the antique mirror we inherited from her grandmother. "It's just old and creepy, like all old things," she'd say with a laugh. But I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. Every morning, as we got ready for the day, I noticed Clara's reflection lagging behind her movements. Just a few seconds, barely noticeable, but it was there. I mentioned it once, and she shrugged it off as a trick of the light. But today, as she adjusted her hair, her reflection didn't just lag, it reached out. A pale hand, slow and deliberate, emerged from the glass and grasped her wrist. Clara's scream pierced the morning air, a sound so raw and terrified that it rooted me to the spot. The reflection's grip tightened, and I saw fear flood Clara's eyes. I lunged forward, trying to pull her away, but it was like fighting an invisible force. Her reflection, now moving with a will of its own, began to pull her toward the mirror. Desperate, I grabbed the heavy candlestick from our dresser and swung it at the glass. The mirror shattered, sending shards flying across the room, but instead of freeing Clara, it seemed to unleash the entity. The room grew cold, and the air thickened with a sense of dread. Clara's reflection, now unbound from the broken pieces, moved freely, its eyes, dark voids, fixated on us. We fled the room, slamming the door behind us. My mind raced with impossible questions. What was that thing? How could a reflection exist without a mirror? And most importantly, how could we stop it? The rest of the day passed in a blur of frantic research and whispered arguments. Clara wanted to leave, but I was convinced we needed answers. As night fell, we huddled together in the living room, jumping at every creak and groan of the old house. Then, as the clock struck midnight, we heard it, the sound of glass scraping against glass, coming from the direction of our bedroom. The door handle rattled, and a sliver of darkness appeared beneath the door. Something was coming. The house groaned as if it shared our fear. Clara clung to me, her breaths ragged. The door rattled, and the darkness beneath it widened. I glanced at the shattered mirror in the hallway, the gateway that had allowed the reflection to escape. But what did it want? Why had it chosen Clara? We retreated to the kitchen, where the moonlight filtered through the curtains, casting eerie shadows on the floor. I pulled out my phone, desperate for answers. The internet offered nothing, no ancient curses, no folklore about sentient reflections. It was as if our tormentor existed outside the realm of human knowledge. Clara's hand trembled as she traced the scar on her wrist, the same wrist the reflection had grabbed. "What if it's still out there?" she whispered. "What if it's waiting for us?" I had no answers, only theories. Maybe the mirror had been a prison, and breaking it had set the reflection free. Or perhaps it was a malevolent doppelganger, mimicking Clara's movements until it gained enough strength to break free. As the clock ticked toward 3 a.m., we heard a soft tapping against the kitchen window. Clara gasped, her eyes wide. Outside, in the moonlight, stood her reflection. It pressed its hand against the glass, fingers splayed like spider legs. Its eyes bore into ours, devoid of any humanity. "Clara," I said, my voice barely audible. "We have to confront it. We can't keep running." She nodded, her resolve firm. We stepped outside, the night air biting our skin. The reflection mirrored our movements, but its touch was ice cold. Clara faced it, her eyes unwavering. "What do you want?" she demanded. The reflection's lips moved, but no sound emerged. Instead, images flooded my mind, memories of Clara's childhood, secrets she'd never shared. It knew her better than I did. And it hungered for something more. Clara stepped closer, her hand inches from the reflections. "Take me back," she whispered. "Take me back into the mirror." The reflection hesitated, then nodded. Its grip tightened, pulling Clara toward the shattered remnants of the antique mirror. I lunged, grabbing her other hand. Together, we fought against the force, our breaths misting in the cold night. But the reflection was relentless. It wanted Clara, body and soul. As the mirror's surface rippled, threatening to swallow her whole, Clara turned to me. "Remember me," she said, tears streaming down her face. "Remember us." And then she let go. The mirror sealed shut, leaving me alone in the moonlit garden. Clara's reflection stared back at me, its eyes filled with longing. And somewhere beyond the glass, Clara waited, a prisoner in her own reflection. The house became a tomb after Clara vanished into the mirror. I slept little, haunted by her absence. The reflection still lingered, watching me from the shattered remnants of the antique mirror. Its eyes followed my every move, and I wondered if it hungered for another victim. Days blurred into weeks. I researched ancient texts, desperate for a solution. The mirror was more than an object, it was a portal to a realm beyond our understanding. I visited antique shops, seeking answers from old shopkeepers who whispered about cursed artifacts and lost souls. One evening, as rain drummed against the window, I received a cryptic message. An anonymous email with a single sentence: "The reflection seeks balance." Balance? What did that mean? I returned to the mirror, my breath fogging the glass. The reflection stared back, its expression unreadable. "What do you want?" I demanded. Its lips moved, but no sound emerged. Instead, images flooded my mind, memories of Clara, our laughter, our shared dreams. The reflection had consumed her essence, leaving only a hollow shell behind. But why? I remembered Clara's words, "Remember me." Perhaps that was the key. I needed to understand the reflection's origins, its purpose. And so, armed with determination, I delved deeper. The mirror's history revealed a tragic tale. A woman named Aloan, scorned by her lover, had shattered the mirror in despair. Her reflection had escaped, seeking revenge. Aloan had vanished, leaving behind only a name etched into the frame. Aloan. The reflection's name. I traced the letters, whispering them aloud. The mirror trembled, and the reflection's eyes widened. It understood. Aloan wanted balance, to reclaim her stolen life. But how could I help her without losing Clara forever? I returned to the mirror each night, speaking to Aloan. She revealed fragments of her past, a love betrayed, a curse invoked. She yearned for release, but at what cost? The reflection grew stronger, its touch colder. I feared it would consume me too. Then, one stormy night, Aloan's voice echoed in my mind. "The mirror must be made whole," she said. "Only then can I return." I gathered the shattered pieces, each shard sharp as regret. Aloan guided me, whispering forgotten incantations. The mirror reassembled, its surface rippling like water. I hesitated, my heart torn between Clara and Aloan. The reflection stepped forward, its hand outstretched. "Balance," it murmured. I took a deep breath, my decision made. I pressed my palm against the mirror, merging our reflections. Aloan's eyes met mine, gratitude and sorrow intertwined. And then, with a final surge of energy, she stepped back into the glass. The mirror sealed shut, leaving me alone in the moonlit room. Clara's reflection stared back at me, her eyes filled with longing. But Aloan's presence lingered, a whisper in the air. I touched the glass, feeling the warmth of both women, the love and loss, the sacrifice. Clara was gone, but Aloan had found peace. And as I turned away, I knew the mirror held more secrets, more reflections waiting to be set free. Story 3. The Unseen Voices. I had always considered my life rather ordinary until the whispers started. At first, they were just faint murmurs, like the rustling of leaves carried by a distant wind. But as days passed, they grew clearer, more insistent, and deeply personal. They told me secrets, dark, twisted secrets that no one else knew, secrets that I wish I could unhear. But last night, something changed. They whispered my name. The first whisper came on a night much like any other. I was lying in bed, the world around me silent except for the occasional car passing by outside. Then, I heard it, a voice, so soft it was almost a sigh, saying, "Micah." My heart raced. I live alone, and the weight of that solitude pressed down on me like a physical force. I tried to dismiss it as a trick of my imagination. But the next night, the voice returned, this time with a message that sent shivers down my spine. "They're watching you, Micah," it hissed, and I felt the presence of unseen eyes upon me. I searched my apartment, but found nothing amiss. Yet, the sensation of being observed lingered. The whispers didn't stop. Each night, they revealed things about my neighbors, my friends, even strangers. Things that were true, things that no one should know. I began to dread the night and the secrets it brought. But fear also sparked curiosity. Who, or what, was speaking to me? Then came the night that changed everything. As I lay in bed, the whispers grew into a cacophony of voices, all chanting my name. "Micah, Micah, Micah," they echoed, growing louder with each repetition. I clutched my ears, trying to block them out, but they were inside my head, impossible to silence. In desperation, I screamed, "What do you want from me?" The voices fell silent, and for a moment, there was peace. But it was short-lived. A single, clear voice spoke, chilling me to the bone. "We want you to join us, Micah. We've been waiting for you." I sat up, my breath coming in ragged gasps. The room was dark, the shadows seeming to move and whisper secrets of their own. I knew then that I couldn't ignore the voices any longer. I had to find out what they wanted, why they had chosen me. And so, with trembling hands, I reached for the lamp beside my bed, steeling myself for what I might see when the light pierced the darkness. The whispers consumed my days and nights, their insistent voices gnawing at my sanity. I became a recluse, avoiding friends, work, and sunlight. My apartment felt like a prison, the walls closing in as if they, too, harbored secrets. I needed answers, and the only way to find them was to delve deeper into the darkness. I researched ancient texts, desperate to understand the origin of these unseen voices. They spoke of a forgotten ritual, one that bridged the gap between the living and the dead. The ritual required a willing participant, a conduit for the spirits to communicate. Was that why they chose me? Had I unwittingly invited them into my life? My sleep became fitful, haunted by nightmares. I saw faces, pale, twisted, and hollow-eyed, hovering just beyond the veil of consciousness. They reached out, their spectral fingers brushing my skin, leaving icy trails. Their mouths moved, but no sound emerged. Only the whispers remained, a cacophony of secrets and regrets. One night, as the moon hung low in the sky, I decided to confront them. Armed with a candle and a mirror, I sat cross-legged on the floor. The whispers intensified, urging me forward. I recited the incantation I had found in the ancient texts, my voice trembling. The room grew colder, and the mirror fogged, revealing distorted reflections of my own face. "Who are you?" I demanded, my breath visible in the frigid air. The whispers merged into a single voice, a chorus of souls. "We are the forgotten," it said. "The ones lost between realms. We seek release, redemption." "Why me?" I asked, my heart pounding. "Why choose me as your conduit?" "You hear us," the voice replied. "Your empathy, your loneliness, it drew us to you. But there is a price. To free us, you must sacrifice something dear." "What?" I whispered, my mind racing. "What must I give up?" The mirror rippled, revealing images of my childhood, a beloved teddy bear, my grandmother's locket, my first love's letters. "Choose," the voice urged. "Or remain haunted forever." I hesitated, torn between fear and curiosity. But then I remembered the secrets they had whispered, the affairs, the betrayals, the hidden crimes. I couldn't bear their weight any longer. With trembling hands, I picked up the locket, its silver chain cool against my skin. The mirror shattered, and the room filled with blinding light. The whispers surged, their voices triumphant. And as the locket disintegrated in my grasp, I felt a release, a freedom from the burden of their secrets. But last night, they whispered my name again. Louder, more urgent. And this time, they promised something darker, a revelation that would change everything. The following days were a blur of anxiety and anticipation. The locket, the sacrifice I had made to free the forgotten souls, weighed heavily around my neck. Its silver surface bore no trace of the intricate design it once held. Instead, it was smooth, featureless, as if it had absorbed the darkness within. The whispers persisted, but now they were different. They no longer spoke of mundane secrets. Instead, they hinted at something ancient, something beyond human comprehension. They guided me to places, the abandoned church on the outskirts of town, the gnarled oak tree in the cemetery, the crumbling well behind my apartment building. Each location held a piece of the puzzle, a fragment of the truth. I followed their instructions, driven by a mix of fear and curiosity. The church was a desolate place, its stained glass windows shattered, the pews covered in dust. In the center of the nave stood an altar, its stone surface etched with symbols I couldn't decipher. The whispers grew louder, urging me to touch it. As my fingers grazed the cold stone, images flooded my mind, rituals, sacrifices, and a hunger for power that transcended time. Next was the oak tree. Its twisted roots seemed to reach into the earth's core, drawing sustenance from something otherworldly. I dug, my hands blistering, until I unearthed a wooden box. Inside lay a brittle parchment, its ink faded but legible. It spoke of a pact, the same pact that bound the forgotten souls to this realm. A pact forged in blood, sealed with secrets. Finally, the well. Its depths were impenetrable, swallowing light and sound. I lowered a rope, my heart pounding. The whispers urged me to descend, promising answers below. As I reached the water's surface, I glimpsed faces, hundreds of them, floating in the darkness. Their eyes bore into mine, pleading, accusing. They were the forgotten, the ones who had paid the price before me. Why? I shouted, my voice echoing off the well's walls. Why did you choose me? The whispers merged into a single voice, resonating from the depths. Because you listened, it said. Because you were willing to hear the truth. But there is one final secret, the key to our release. What is it? I demanded. Your name, the voice replied. Your true name, the one whispered by the wind, carried by the stars. Speak it, and the pact will be broken. I hesitated. My name, my identity, was all I had left. But the whispers had become a part of me, their secrets etched into my soul. Could I sever that connection? Last night, as the moon hung low once more, I stood at the edge of the well. The forgotten souls watched, their eyes hollow, their voices urging me onward. I took a deep breath, my heart pounding, and spoke my true name, the one that had haunted my dreams, the one that bound me to them. The well trembled, its water churning. And then, with a deafening roar, it split open, revealing a void, an abyss that swallowed everything. The forgotten souls dissipated, their whispers fading into nothingness. But as I stepped back, I heard a new voice, a familiar one. It whispered my name, not in fear or desperation, but in triumph. And I realized that the secrets I had uncovered were only the beginning. There were other realms, other forgotten souls waiting to be heard. And so, I continue my journey, seeking answers, unraveling mysteries. But last night, they whispered my name again, the name that binds me to their world. And this time, they promised something darker, a revelation that would change everything. The end. Subscribe for more. Thank you.